All right. We're here. Back on the streaming. Back in this format. Maybe I could put this up like this. So it makes sense. Make dollars. All right. Even got the Discord chat at the bottom somehow. It's pretty cool. At the bottom, we got the Discord chat beneath me, the YouTube chat. So I'm pretty interested. Let's see how this Discord chat thing works. I'm testing it out now. We'll see how it works. All right. What are we doing today? Still getting set up. Music set. Feeling great. Got a nice little tone going. A little lo-fi hip hop. Let's see. Make sure everything's going well here. The stream's going well. 30 frames a second. That's pretty good. Performance quality is good. Very good. Very good. All right. Chat going good. Okay. All right. We are here in Blender. Okay, that's going well. Let me set my camera a little lower. There we go. Get my light source a little closer to me here. There we go. All right, guys. All two of you in there. Thank you guys for joining me today. I know I missed a couple Saturdays. But luckily on those Saturdays, I was able to release some materials. Today, I don't really have anything planned. I know that I'm going to just be doing some like material stuff, maybe just playing around. It's going to be a couple hour stream. So it's not going to be too long, not like a 3-4 hour thing. Unless I guess we get into something real good, but you know, this is we're just hanging out, testing some new stuff. I think what we're gonna start doing today is something laser related. I'd like to make some lasers. I made that rain material needs some work, but we'll leave that for another time. But I want to do the next one, which would be like lasers, like laser eyes and laser beams, maybe like some energy kamehamehas, like blast from like the hands, like a super, like a Dragon Ball Z type effect, which would be pretty cool.
Sorry.
Oh, hold on. One second, guys. All right. So let's see. Let's see if this Discord chat works as intended. Let's see. Oh yeah, entirely. All right, there we go. Okay, think we're good. So we're going to be doing lasers. So let's do lasers. Let's open up. You know, we shouldn't start from scratch really. What we should do probably is start from stuff we already started with or have. So let's start with the rain. I think the material there I can convert into something laser related. So let's go to our recent. Let's go to open, don't save. And we're gonna open up our rain material. Let's see, let's look at our rain. Pretty cool. Like how that's looking. I think I'm gonna be taking the splash and then converting that into like maybe like particles that are spewing out of the laser beam. So that's what we're gonna take from this. You know, honestly, maybe even the ripple. Maybe I should just take the whole rain objects thing, and then we could start transforming it into like a laser beam or something of that sort. So yeah, let's do that. Let's go. All right, let's start with a new one. We'll do general, starting out fresh. And I'm going to erase the cube and the light for now. And I'm going to turn on my screencast keys for you to be able to see it. So you can see the keys I'm pressing there at the bottom. There we go. And now I'm going to reset the camera. So I'm going to do Alt R, Alt G, rotate on the X 90 degrees. Also, I think I'm going to make the font bigger for the screencast keys. Let's see. There we go. You guys can see that, right? 40, 45 or something. I don't know. We'll see. We'll move this back on the Y. And we'll look through it here. Great. I'm going to take off the grid. Usually pretty distracting for me. So I'm going to take off the floor. But I'll leave the lines there. So there we go. We got our camera. And we're going to set everything on the origin here. So should be good to go. All right. So let's import the rain materials, that collection that I talked about. Let's go to materials. Let's go to rain. Let's go to collections. And the rain main objects. We're going to append that. And that should append everything that I need to do this. All right, so there's my blast, which I think looks pretty good. So let's close all this. Let's take this out. All right, so what do we have? Let's take some stuff out here. We got the ripples. Looks pretty good. Ripple splash has both, and we'll just do the splash. I think the splash is what I want to use. So that looks pretty good. So let's keep going. We got our splash here. And I think we're going to use this. Let's see if we can see the planes. Yeah, you can see the planes there. It's kind of like an X or a plus. So that's how it's making the blast there. I'm going to bring up the materials panel, clicking in the bottom left and clicking on the corner and just dragging it. And then we'll just keep on going. We'll put the shader graph there. This shader, honestly, I've had some like worse looking ones that look much more ridiculous than this. So this actually looks pretty clean for what it's worth. So that's good. So we got our shader graph going. We got this going. We're going to use this in a different way. Just for the sake of keeping this intact, I'm just going to duplicate this splash. So then we have like a base to always be able to recover to. Always be able to go back into this, right? So I'm going to select the collection, right click, do select objects. That selects all of them. I'm going to hit Shift D. That duplicates them. It just duplicated the splashes, so I'm going to put this into its own collection. So we'll call it Laser Blast. Laser Blast. So it's its own little collection there. There we go. Ravenin. Hi, what's the plan for today, Ravenin? Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm gonna be making like a laser material, or like an energy material, kind of like laser beams from the eyes, or like a Kamehameha like energy beam, like Dragon Ball Z style, or any like a material like that that's like customizable, and you'll be able to change it. So if you missed the beginning, what I did was I have this rain material that I use, that has like these splashes here, as you see, and I'm gonna use this kind of like as a basis for that, to start making the material. So let's rotate this all, and we're gonna rotate on the, I guess, the origin, right? That's what we can do. No, not the origin. Oh yes, the origin. I just had the camera selected. So we're gonna rotate this on the Y. So RY negative. You can't see me press. I guess my screencast keys doesn't show that, but okay, cool. So we got like this blast going. It's actually a splash for water. So, you know, we're gonna have to change that later. Or maybe we don't. Maybe we don't. Let's see. So let's first make, now that we have this laser, let's do laser like particles. We're gonna particles. They're not really like, we're not using a particle system. This is all like a material and stuff. So we got laser particles. Let's just make another collection. We'll just call it, we'll take it out of this, and we'll just call this laser, or like, let's say beam main, right? We'll put the laser particles in there, and we'll call this, instead of laser, we'll call it beam instead. BEAM, beam particles. Great. So before we continue, let's make the energy cylinder, right? The cylinder that we will edit and make a basis from, right? So let me take this off. Also, my screen's a little cluttered. I don't like it. Let's take away some of this stuff. Text info. We're gonna take off the widgets on the right side. We don't need that. And I think we're good now. I think we're good. So energy beam stock. Okay, so we're gonna make another one, another collection, by clicking the top right there. You don't see it, but it's right past this like corner here. You can't see it on the stream, but anyway, we're just gonna call this beam main. Okay, and we're gonna take beam particles out, and we're gonna start building out the material for this laser beam slowly but surely. So let's start off with a cylinder. So Shift A, mesh. We'll go to cylinder. Beautiful. I think, oh, let me do that again. Shift A, cylinder, and let me make sure that we have 32 radius. You can always set the settings here. You can always edit it later, but sometimes it's nice to just do this. For the cat fill type, I'm gonna put nothing, so it's gonna be see-through. We can see right through it, because we don't need it. And then for the depth, I guess we can make it pretty big. Let's make it like 6 for the depth. For the radius, maybe smaller. We're gonna do like a laser beam first, so we'll do 0.15. Beautiful. Generate UVs, line to world. And I think that's good. So what I want to do is I want this beam, right? I want it to sit at the top of this grid. So a little trick to do that, because right now it's just in the center, right? So if I rotate it, it kind of rotates from the middle, but I don't want it to rotate from the middle. I want it to rotate from the bottom half here, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to edit mode and go to vertice modes by pressing 1, or I press 2, but press 1. We're gonna click on one of these vertices, hold Alt and click. Oh man, I'm a little rusty here. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, it is Alt and double click on the vertices. That will select, right, the whole circle here, right? So then now what we're gonna do is Shift S, and this, we're gonna move the cursor, right? We're gonna use the cursor to our advantage to be able to move the origin. So the cursor is this red and white little like lifesaver type thing here. It doesn't get bigger when I get closer. It's just right here. So when you select these, right, what it's gonna do is when you hit Shift S and cursor to selected, it's gonna put the cursor at the center of everything that's selected, and the center of everything that's selected is the center of this circle, right? So now I clicked on it, And there you go. Boom. Right in the center. It's lined up. That's where the cursor's at, right? And I'm doing that, right, because I want to move this origin. The origin, you can tell where it is, right? You can tell with this little orange dot here. It's almost imperceptible. It's right here, little orange dot. That's where it rotates from, right? And I want this dot to be at the bottom. So if you go to Object and go to Set Origin, right? You can click Origin to 3D Cursor. You know that we moved it right at the bottom there. Set Origin to 3D Cursor. Now when we rotate, now it rotates from the bottom. Beautiful, right? Some good stuff. That's what we want. So right now I want to, now that it's at its origin, the origin's at the bottom of this cylinder, I want it to sit at the top of this floor, right? And to do that is right now, when you look at the location, you can see that it's at -3. And this is at relation to its origin, which is right there at the bottom, right? So to reset the origin, you can obviously hit 0 here, right? But another way you could do this, see, it brings it up to the floor. But another way you could do is holding Alt, and then you can hit R. Nope, that's rotation. Hit Alt G. That's the location, right? So holding Alt and pressing either S, R, or G resets either the location, the rotation, or the scale. So I'm resetting the location. You see that zeroes it out. Beautiful. Now we got our we got our cylinder on the floor, and I just like to work from the origin. I think it's very important. Like if you wanted to start doing things with particles, making this part of a particle system or anything like that, it's really good to pay attention to where your origin's at and if it's at the right location. This also helps for furniture. Like if you're trying to if the origin's at the right place, you can always set the furniture or objects right on the floor where you need it to be, rotate it at the right angles and everything, instead of the origin being some like crazy location. Ravenin, speaking of setting origin, any tips on centering grease pencil objects origin? Grease pencil object origin. So let's take a little detour here for Ravenin. Thank you for chatting. If anybody has a question, please jump in. Let's take a small detour for Ravenin here. I'm gonna make a different collection for this. Grease pencil, right? We're gonna do this quick. Let's see if we can figure it out. Go to grease pencil. We're just gonna put the monkey here. I put it down here because that's where the 3D cursor is at. So I'm gonna hit Alt G and center it. So for the object, right? This should work the same way, Ravenin, right? It should. If you go into edit mode, and let's say you wanted to put the origin, let me separate the eyes, right? So the eyes, to separate them, I'm going to select the eyes, and to do it, I'm going to hit L. L selects everything connected, right? So you hit L, it connects them all. You hit L, and you see how it selected all of those, right? And there's two here. There's this, which is the line, right? Or the fill. And then there's also the line, right? If you hit L, you grab it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit L. I'm going to hold Shift, select, and then hit L. Oh, man, is L not working? Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button. L. Then Shift, select, L. Okay, cool. We got the whole eye. And just for this, we're going to hold Shift, select, and then we're going to hit L. It selects everything there, right? So let's move this. We're going to move it into a new layer. Or let's say a new... Oh, man. Let's do it into... Let's separate this this eye right from the whole grease pencil. You do that with hitting P. And we're going to hit separate strokes, eye, right? So let me get rid of Susan. Now we have the eye, right? So when you look at the eye now, right? You can see that the origin is at the bottom here, right? It's in the center. So if I rotate from here, you see that it's rotating from that origin, right? One way to avoid moving the origin, just so you know, is if you hit the period key, you can rotate from different parts. Like let's see, bounding box center. Let me not complicate things. Anyway, it's the same thing. If you go into the center and you want to rotate it from the center of all these points, select all of them, hit Shift S, go to cursor to selected, right? That puts the cursor in the center of all these objects, right? Everything that's selected, all the vertices, right? You exit out of it by hitting tab, go to object, then go to set origin and do it to 3D cursor. Now, when you rotate the eye is there. And that's how you would do that for a grease pencil object. It works the same way, right? You know, it works the same way. You can rotate the eye, scale it from the center. Unless you're asking something different, but it should work the same way. Great. All right, so let's continue. We're gonna continue making this laser beam here. And this laser beam, I make these materials and these effects materials for use for like 2D animation. There's a lot of effects that take a long time to make in 2D animation. So I try to figure out fast and quick solutions for people using 2D animation, using 3D since it's in Blender, so it's easy to make these effects. You know, sometimes it's just better to draw it out though. Okay, so let's continue. We're going to make this material. All right, so we got the laser. We're gonna hit new material. We'll do a beam. We're not gonna call it laser. Beam. All right, and we have the material here. We don't need this principal shader. What we want is, so I hit X to delete. What we want is an emission shader. There it is, and there's our emissions. We're in rendered mode. If you hit bloom, you can see that it starts to shine. And I'm gonna make this dark just so we can see it better. The world, dark. So there we go. It's dark. We're gonna take off this grid. It's always a little annoying for me. So there we go, and we can see that we can set the brightness or the strength. We can make that super bright, which is pretty cool. It's a nice little laser beam we got going on here. Looks good. We can rotate it, but it's just white. That's not a fun, you know, we want it to have some gradients, have some color, have some changes and stuff. You know, it actually have like some readability here. So let's just keep going. We're going to be experimenting with some of these different materials here. All right. So let's do a couple things here. So let's add a color ramp, right? So like a gradient, so we can add a gradient to this. A quick shortcut is hitting Control T. This adds in all the necessary things I need: texture, coordinates, mapping. This image texture I don't want, right? So if you hit Shift S, you can change it to gradients. So let's go to color, converter, color ramp. Nice. Let's put this into an interesting color, like let's do blue, and let's do a crazy other colors, just so we can see the difference. So right now it's just spewing out purple. I guess you can kind of see that the top is like a pink color. Maybe we should change it color. Got this blue, green. You know, red's very easy, but we'll do blue, green, laser-ish. Let's take off the bloom for right now because it's a little distracting. We really can't tell what's happening here. So let's do this. All right, and then I want it to be also have some transparency. So we're gonna add in a mix shader. We're gonna go to shader mix. We're gonna add in another shader transparency here. And we're gonna keep on going. And what this does is that I'm able to add some transparency to this. So let's reset this. I'm gonna make this black. We're gonna add in another one. We're gonna add in white. I'm gonna put it at the top here. Control T. And just so this transparency works, we have to make sure that in our materials, the settings, the blend is on alpha blend. Let's see if we can see the transparency happen. Ah, you can kind of see it. There it is. There's a transparency. And this is good. It's kind of being transparent from left to right. So let's figure out some different texture coordinates. So we're not going to use UV. Let's use generated. See what that looks like. Not what I want. So there's a different thing, right? Because I want kind of like the tops to be a little transparent. I want some transparency in it in general, you know. I want it to be a little bit lasery so it can be used for multiple things. So I'm gonna add in a input, and we're gonna try out two. We're gonna try out Fresnel. So input Fresnel. It's pronounced Fresnel though. And then we're gonna try input layer weights that also has a Fresnel in it. You know, sometimes they work a little different. So let's use a Fresnel. So looking at this, it looks like now the center of it is invisible. Let's see what the Fresnel looks like from layer weights. All right, and then we also have facing here. So any way it's facing, it looks great. And let me show you what this looks like. Let me not make it dark in here. Let's make it a little brighter. There we go. And let's put back the bloom. And let's bring back our emissions. There we go. And also let me take off the XY axis here. All right. Pretty good. Let's see if we... There we go. Now we can add in some better coloring and add some better detail onto this here. Okay, so for the coordinates, let's do layer weights facing also for the color, and let's see what that looks like. Let's bring this back to like 10, something reasonable. There we go. That's a dumb color, so let's pick some better colors here. So let's do like a light blue. Oh man, it's barely... These colors are way too close. Let's do some traditional Dragon Ball Z type stuff here.
All right, let's bring that beat back.
Ooh. Excuse the noise for that. All right. For right now, let's just go straight to emissions and let's see what this color looks like. All right, great. So this gradient is looking a lot better. I want this color to be a little stronger. So a little thing that I do here, right, is I add in a hue saturation, and you can actually bring up the saturation. So you can't tell, but see how white it is there? But then if you put like, you know, put this to 2, the colors get a lot brighter. So right now it's looking kind of blocky, and that's because I forgot to hit shade smooth for this cylinder. So let's do shade smooth. There you go. So this is looking a little better. Let's try it some different interpolations. Let's do B-spline. There we go. And let's keep working through this. Let's keep working through. I don't know. Feels still a little blocky, right? Let's try Fresnel. Make sure that's not... I don't know. looks a little weird. See if we can try some different things. Oh, man, I wonder what's happening here. The gradient doesn't look... Looks a little sharp. There has to be a better solution here. Alright, let's do one thing. Let's do this. Let's hit a texture coordinate. But let's do generated. We're going to separate. So we have like a transition. So maybe it fades out at the end. That's really what I want, right? So let's go to convert, separate, X, Y, Z. And let's put that at the top here. Right? And let's see how that looks. There we go. Alright, so here's... We're going to erase this. Boom. We have the Z going on, which is looking great. And we can also move this Z, right? Very cool. Oh man, Judah, thank you for subscribing. I didn't realize how loud this music was. Hopefully that wasn't too loud. But I got a subscription there. Alright, so let's see if we can make this, I don't know, better. Let's go to B-spline. There we go. This feels a little better. Alright, let's move it up. Let's add a math node here, right? Let's go to converter math. And a good one to put it on is power. It's the one I like. There we go. That gives us some control there. Oh, Revenant, that scared me. Yes, it scared me too. Make sure that's like not too loud here. I hope it's not loud. Hold on. Oh man. Sorry about that, Revenant. It, like I'm telling you, it scared me too. Let me make sure that that is not too loud. Okay, I think it shouldn't make that noise anymore or be that loud. I think it may just be loud for me now, so I'll get scared and you won't. Okay. Oh, let me turn on a fan. It's getting a little warm in here. Okay. Whew. So we got this transparency going, and the reason is just to make this simplified here. Let's bring this up here. Bring our transparency. We have a mix shader. It's going between emissions and transparency, and we're using the only the z-axis to put in a gradient to make this transition, which is good. We want it to be we want it to fade it out. We're gonna make this type of beam first. You know, maybe like rays coming out of your eyes and stuff. So that's good. I think we should also do it with the same thing with color. Like maybe it starts off really colorful and then it goes into being transparent and stuff. So let's do that. And to do that, I can just copy the same thing. I can just copy these. All right. Hit Shift D. And we can bring this down. And it should work the same way. Yeah, there's our white. We're just going to have to zero this out. There it is. There it is. All right. So there's our transition. And this obviously makes it much more stark, this power. So we're going to skip the power for now. You can mute nodes by hitting M. And then we'll just work with the transitioning here. Maybe linear is better. I don't know. This white, let's put a color in the middle. Maybe the color's going all crazy. Maybe the color in the middle is not working. Let's see. Yeah. So let's get rid of that. Let's see if we can make this transition smoother. There's a few things we can do. Let's figure them out. I think if we make the math node a divide, let's see about that. I'm holding shift here. Still a little harsh here. What if we change this to texture? A lot of this is just experimenting sometimes. That's an interesting effect. Kind of goes around it. I don't know. We'll go back to point. And mess with some of these settings. Like, maybe the saturation's too bright. Okay, maybe it's because the saturation was too bright. So we'll bring the saturation back down. We'll move this around. There it is. I think that's pretty good. So instead of pink, let's just do the blue. And you can always copy colors by hovering your mouse over the color ramp, hitting Control C, click on the one you want to go to, hover it, Control V, and it colors it the same way. So obviously it's the same color, but let's just make it less saturated. I wonder if we just use the same one from up here. We only have to mess with one. Let's see. I mean, it looks a little better. Actually, that works much better. Let's not have double. Let's just delete this. X. I'm going to... add in a layout reroutes just so we can get some cleaner things here. Boom, boom. We're gonna duplicate this, grab there, bring this down just so it looks a little nicer, right? Sometimes it's about just looking nice. So we're gonna bring this here. All right, cool. We'll control it this way for now. So there we go. We can control the transparency a little better there. So there we go. Kind of fades out a little weird out here. So let me see what happens when I mute this again. We'll keep it like this for now. All right. So let's keep chugging along here. All right, we got our color. We got our beam shooting up in the air and stuff. Let's see if we can add like some effects to this. I'm also gonna take the 3D cursor off. I like a clean screen there. Let's see if we can add some texture to this. Like it has like some sort of energy inside of it. And we're gonna do that with some textures. So let me organize my my nodes here. So nodes, this here, you know, line these up. Bring these down. There we go. Just so we're organized, things are happening. Okay, got this laser beam. Boom, boom. It looks pretty decent in different directions here. Except right down the center. Maybe it should have a bottom connecting, right? But anyway, it looks pretty good regardless. I like the fade. We can always edit this later. Sometimes you shouldn't keep you know, working on that. Okay, so what was I doing? Adding energy, adding a texture to it. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna try 2 different ways of doing it. So let's see if the ways I think will work. So first, what we'll do is we'll add in a texture, and we'll add in a Musgrave texture. And just so if you want to ever look at what it looks like, just hold Control Shift and click on it. You have to have the Node Wrangler add-on on, but that's how you're able to see it. And see, this is that texture I'm talking about. So that looks pretty good, right? So let's go back to looking at the laser. So I'm gonna make the camera invisible. There we go, just so we could see. Just so we can see this. Okay. So forget which part of this goes. So we're just gonna do some experimenting. Let's go to convert math, and we'll just do add, and we're gonna add this top one and this bottom one, and we'll put it here. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so this is looking interesting here. Got details, dimension. Let's add in Control T on the texture. Let's see if this is working. Is that working? Because, like, let's say we were to animate this. It looks kind of cool. The transparency makes it look like there's dark in it. Okay, cool. So if we animate this upwards, I think it looks kind of cool. Like, okay. Sound effects necessary. Let's try some different textures though. Let's do FBM. Let's do multifractal. And let's animate this, right? So I'm gonna make it so it animates with the timeline. Also, let me make sure to add in beam here. Okay. So I'm gonna do an input, and I'm gonna do a value, right? Because I want to add the time, I want it to animate with the timeline, right? And to do that, you get your value, click on the value in there, hit this hashtag, hit frame. I'm gonna do divided by 10 for right now. Turns purple because it becomes a driver, and it's gonna be whatever frame it's on, it's what the number it's going to be. So right now it's at frame 147, so it's at 14.7, you know, and it's because I'm dividing it by 10. That's why it's 0.7 instead of 140. Anyway, so there's 3 ways to animate, or there's ways to animate textures in 3 ways: X, Y, Z. So we got location going left, right, we got Y, Z, but the one we want is Z because it kind of looks like it's going outwards, and we want it to go into the negative. So that's cool. You can also rotate things, you know, scale them and stuff. But I only want to affect the Z, right? So we're going to make sure we do it correctly. We'll go to convert, and we're going to combine X, Y, Z, right? So now we'll select that to the vector here. Now we can just affect the Z. See, it's the same thing. It just kind of outputs it out. Now we can connect this here. Now it's animating. You can kind of see it here pretty quickly. Let's animate it a little slower. Let's animate it divided by 20, maybe 30. How about 40? All right, I should have just done 50. There it is. I like how slow it's going, and you can see that it's going the wrong way. I want it to go outwards, up. So all I have to do is, in the beginning of this, I'm gonna hit a negative, and there it is. It's going upwards, and that's pretty good. One thing about this though is that the fade is not working the way that I want to anymore. So let's see how we can fix that. Let's see if we can also change these colors, maybe make it a little bit more noticeable. Probably not. Let's see. Let's add a color ramp. We're gonna make it much more noticeable. I'm gonna change this to constant, and now we'll see it very harshly. There it is. All right. We're gonna take off bloom for right now, so we can just see what it looks like without the bloom. It looks okay, but the fade is going away. The fade that I like is not there. So to fix that is that we're gonna have to separate the fade. So let me hit the fade here. And we're gonna just make another ramp. Put the fade there. There we go. Sorry guys, I'll explain this right now. I'm just making sure this works. All right. So what I'm doing is see if I can logically explain this. It's gonna be good practice for me. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting closer. Color ramp. Okay, there's our fade again. We just have to have the fade at the end and separated, right? So let's add our math again and hit power. There we go. Okay, so right now, just so you understand, this part is the fade, which is just the gradient that we're creating by using this, and that's on its own thing. Before I was using both the texture and the fade. We have the fade separated, so we can control the fade individually, like so. Oh my god, let me just zoom up on this. Let me make a separate window. At animations, why didn't I get a notification about this live? You didn't premiere it. Oh, I don't know. Can I premiere a live event? I might have made a mistake. But thank you for letting me know that you missed it, because that helps me out. Because I think I'm like, oh, I did everything right. Everything's good, but then it ends up not being good. Okay. Okay. So let me start over again. This is getting a little overwhelming. Sometimes when this stuff gets too, if you start out the wrong way, it gets a little messy. So let's start from the beginning, and we'll do it much faster this time. Okay. Let me take off the grid here. There we go. We have a cylinder. We want it to be a beam. The beam needs to fade at the top. How do we do that? We add in emissions. Go to the emissions. There we go. Emissions. Now that's just a beam. Yes, you premiere it and anytime before the live, and we get a notification about its starting time. Good to know. Good to know. No, but thank you for letting me know. Cool. So we got emissions. We want it to be a little bit transparent at the top and fade out. So we need a transparency, because we want it to emit and be transparent. Those are the two things we need. Transparent. Good. We have emissions, transparency. Make sure your settings are in alpha blend mode, or alpha blend, in blend mode, in your materials, in your settings. Get a mix shader, because we're going to mix between the emissions and the transparency. Mix shader. We have these two. Beautiful. Then what we want to do is we want it to fade at the top. And we do that by creating a gradient. And to create a gradient, you need a texture coordinate on generated. Go to mapping, and then you separate the XYZ. So it's only taking into consideration the Z. And if you guys remember, Z is right here. It's up and down. That's what the Z is. That's all it takes into consideration. And it's making a ramp on the Z. That's all this is doing. And then we connect it to the mix, and that will determine how much is emissions, how much is transparent. Beautiful. Let's see. There. We got the fade. Fade is there. The reason it's so dim, we could put the emissions up a little higher. We'll put it up to 10. Great. The fade is controlled by this Z slider on location. So there's our fade. We will make this 1. We're actually going to try and divide. Dividing, I think, helps, but we'll see. Yes, the dividing it makes it fade slower. So there's our fade. We'll bring it to the top there. Maybe divide by 20 instead. So you divide, and then you move this accordingly. There we go. There's our fade. If we add the bloom, you see that it looks like a laser beam already. It's not bright enough, so let's bring it up to 70 here. There we go. We got our fade. Maybe we could fade it out more. Maybe it should take some time. Let's see. We can fade it by a lot. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. What if we hit clamp? Does clamp work? Well, power. We're almost there. I wonder if changing the color ramp, always test out the... There we go. We'll do B-spline for now. That's usually a better fade. And we'll go back to divide. It's really a game of messing with divide and moving this up and down. I'm looking for the right fade here. What's interesting is its fade now looks... Is it because it's clamped? Yeah, it's looking kind of... There we go. Yeah, maybe let's just go straight. Let's just go straight from the Z, and we'll work from there. Put this at 0. Bring this down. It's kind of cool, like it fills out though, like kind of like a lightsaber. Okay. This bloom is a little too bright. Let's bring down our emissions down to 30. And let's see if we could do something better here. What if I need to use a gradient texture? Because that's another way of doing this. So gradient texture. And we'll put this here. Okay, and then we'll do this. Does that make it easier? Does that do the same thing? Let's see if it's the same thing. Is that different? Or is this different? I'm gonna zoom up on this. It's not different at all. Okay. I just wish I could do this fade a little better. And it not look like so jagged. Feel like it's jagged. What if it's object? Is that the issue? All right, and that's we're almost done. We're gonna move on from this. I think we're spending a little bit too much time here. I just get so caught up in these details. It's power, right? Is it something less than compare, round, fraction? It's not divide. Logarithmically. That's interesting though. This is an interesting effect. The logarithmic, because it makes like this like rake or something. Okay, we're spending too much time. Let's just pick one. We'll do power. We will figure this out. Oh man, and this is what it's like, guys. You're just sitting here trying to figure out why it's not working correctly. Let's put this into a nice blue color. Susan, hello, hello. Good to see you. Welcome to the Chatteroony. Chatty, chatty, chatty. Chat, chat, chat. Okay, so maybe. Oh, I missed you too, Susan. I missed 2 weeks. I broke the streak. I'm in the process of gonna be moving out in a month or so. I had to miss the last 2 couple streams for anybody listening or watching. So that's why I missed the last couple weeks. Okay, so the solution is, guys, I found out. It's the color ramp. Instead of making it fully black, making it whiter, you have a little bit more control there. So there we go. The fade doesn't look as crazy. So that's good. We'll put in that math convert on there. But we'll do divide. Or power. Oh, it's because I'm on object. Let's go to generated. Jeez. Generated. Okay, so just make sure this is not fully black. You can control it here. I'll be providing this material once it's all done too, so you don't want to even pay attention to this. You don't have to, technically. There we go. That's looking kind of cool. But why does this work this way? Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. Okay. Kandicha. Me having 0 skills in Blender, but still asking a question. Hey, could you possibly give a glitter kind of effect? Glitter, I think is what you're saying. Kind of effect, maybe in slow burning fire. Thank you. Yes, yes. This is like the first half. I'm making like laser beams and energy and stuff. But that will be part of this, right? So this beam, I'm just making the laser beam go up and down. But I have this rain effect, which you can get on the Gumroad for free. It's right here, and it uses this material. Let's see if you can see it, guys. It uses this this procedural material, and that's supposed to be like the splashes of water. We're actually going to repurpose this splash to be kind of like the embers or the glitter coming out of this and stuff. If you want to use this rain material, just go into my Gumroad. It's in the description. And just for anybody watching, the 5 of you out there, this is what it looks like. If you go to the rain, you can see this is what we're doing here. This is where I'm taking it from. I'm sorry. These splashes, I'm going to repurpose them for the laser beam. And the splashes are going to be the embers and stuff. So this is that rain material I was talking about, guys. Definitely check it out. It's like, there's a video for it on my channel. It's like one of my previous videos. So definitely check that out. But we will continue. We're going to be making the laser beam here. The laser beam. And yeah, we're repurposing that. So we will be getting to that. Right now I'm making the beam, so it like fades out at the top. Maybe add some like rippling textures on it and stuff like that. Because right now, it's just blue, right? But what if I wanted the color to be changed from the top to the bottom? Maybe that's a cool effect. So I'm gonna add that. And since we're starting over, let me just erase this. So just to run through, we're mixing between emissions and transparency, and we're using this gradient only on the z-axis right here to do the fade. And that's how this is working. Let me put this rendered for you to see it on this side. There we go. There we go. Anyway, so the glitter effect we'll be getting to very soon. All right, so next thing I want to do is add a different colors to it. So we're going to do the same thing, and since we already have it here, we can actually just copy this whole thing, right? So you know what, just for the sake of, Susan says, used to be scared of nodes, but you have changed all that. I have been learning materials and geometric nodes heaps since you started the hangout. Just wanted you to know. Thank you, Susan. And I'm glad you typed that. Yes, I want this to be less scary. I know it's scary. There's a lot of buttons. There's a lot of things going on. But if you have any questions, please ask, because there is like a step-by-step process here. So just to be organized, I'm going to make a frame here. And I'm going to add this to the frame. And we're going to name everything. So I'm going to do it right now. So when you download this material, it's all organized. So this frame is going to be called the fade. We're going to just type in fade. We'll put the label fade. We'll color it white, I guess. And we will make the font bigger. So there we go. We got the fade here going. This whole thing is the fade. All right, so now that we have the fade, what we're going to do is add texture to this. So right now it's just like a solid color, and we want it to be maybe multiple colors and maybe have a texture to it too. So let's do the color part first. So for the color part, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna copy this whole fade. Actually, no, let's just build it from the top so you guys to understand it. So what we want is for it to fade into 2 different colors. So we're gonna use a color ramp, which is right here, right? So just hit Shift A, convert color ramp. There it is. And just for the sake of, visibility, I'm going to choose some crazy colors, right? Let's do some crazy colors. Let's do like a pink color and an ugly. Let's pick ugly colors, right? For now, and green, right? That's kind of, those colors don't really go well, right? They don't really go well together. So let's put it here, and it just looks brown, right? And that's because this doesn't know where to put these colors, right? And the way to tell it is with this is a texture, right? So it needs the coordinates for that, right? So let's add in a texture coordinate, which would be input texture coordinates, and then the mapping, right? And all the mapping is it takes your texture coordinates, and then you're able to edit those settings. Those where the coordinates are, you're able to edit the coordinates. So let's do that. So let's go to mapping. Oh, input, is it mapping? Oh, convert. See, I even forget where this is, guys. It's under vector. If you forget where it is, you can always go to the search and just type it in, mapping. Same thing, right? Good stuff. We're gonna always use generated for now. And we'll stick it in now. Boom. Cool. So now we have the colors going, right? The colors looking interesting because it goes from left to right, right? When you see like a beam, like a laser beam, you know, it's usually like one color fading into a lighter version of that color, right? So we want this to go up and down, not left and right. So the way that we're gonna tell it that is it's using the texture coordinates. So it's all right, here are the coordinates. This is what I know. How do we want to map it? This is how we want to map it. And it's gonna map it in X, Y, and Z. But we only want to map it up and down, which is the Z axis. If you ever want to know what direction is what, if you look at the top right here, your gizmo, Z's up and down, X is left and right, and Y is forward and back. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong out there. Anyway, so we want to separate the XYZ. We only want the Z. There's actually a node for that. So we'll do convert, separate XYZ. And now we can just only use the Z, which is up and down, as you saw here. And now we have the two colors. And there's our fade, right? Looking great. We can make it brighter, obviously. And the green is just to fade up there. That's cool. And now we know that it's working correctly. So now here's our color. And now we can put it to something sensible, right? So instead of like, if we're going to do like laser beams, like what laser beams are usually like red. And then we can hit Control C while hovering the mouse here. Click on this, Control V. Where's my keys here? There it is. Now it's red, obviously, but if you change the color now, you're able to like desaturate it. And you can have something, so you can have the color much stronger at the bottom than the top. You can even just make a transition to white if you want, right? No color, make it super bright, kind of fades out. Great. Reminds me of a shallot. Nice. What is a shallot, guys? Can you explain what a shallot is? Candicha? Candicha. I hope I'm saying your name right. All right, cool. So we got our color, our fade. We can also, you know, move where the color is, and it's the fade stays the same, right? Because the fade's being affected up here. So there's our color. Looks pretty good. We can make it even stronger. We can change the interpolation. There we go. And we can even move it upwards. There, see? So now we got a dark saturation here, and it starts to fade at the top there. So there's our color. Looks fine. And now we want to add in a bit of a texture to it. So let me think on how we should add this texture. Let's add it by mixing colors first. We're mixing textures. But then we're going to try something else. We're going to try something different. So let's see how this works. This is just a test, guys. We're working together. So you have this color here, and we want the colors to have a texture to them, right? So we're going to add in a Shift A, go to color, mix RGB. What a mix RGB is that it's just going to mix two different colors or textures, and you'll have everything you have like in Photoshop, if you guys have Photoshop, like value, divide, overlay, add, screen, lighten, etc., right? So we're gonna add in our texture, I mean our gradient. There it is. Nothing's changed because it's not connected yet. Then we're gonna add in a texture. So let's add in a texture. So go under texture. We're going to add a crazy one just so we can see it. Like the magic texture. That's usually crazy. And now we will add in the mix into the emissions. And that should give us a texture on here. And that texture looks kind of wonky, right? Let's see if we can see it any bigger. All right, so that's looking kind of interesting. Kind of not. All right, so I'm going to change the texture. Hit Shift S on it if you have Node Wrangler on. And let's change it to a Verone texture. This kind of gives it an interesting effect there. And let's do, instead of color, put distance. All right, you can't really tell what's happening here, right? So to exemplify things, so let's go back to color, is we're going to take those colors and then make them more harsh. So we'll need a color ramp for that. Convert color ramp. And we're going to change this to constant, and let's see what this looks like. There it is. Now we can see this much better. There it is. So you see, and what we're doing is we're mixing the Verone texture and the gradient. You can see there's just a Verone texture, right? And then this is just the gradient texture, right? 0 is color 1 and 1 is color 2, right? So 0.5 is a mixture of both. There it is, right? Let's just try some different ones just for testing them out. Color burn, kind of cool. Add, you know, now we want to add it fully, so that's where we put it to 1. Divide, nothing. Linear light, oh, it gets really dark there. Overlay, interesting. Divide, screen, let's do add for now. Candice says it's like an onion. That part where the top, oh yes, was green and the bottom is pink, but usually shallots are more purple. Okay, I know exactly what. For some reason I was thinking of like a 3D term, like a shallot within like the Blender 3D. But yes, I've had shallots, and you're right, it is like a shallot. Okay, cool. So we have our Verone texture, and we're mixing it in. It kind of, you know, looks boring, right? You know, and you know, we can change the different settings here, like F2. There's a lot more in here. Smooth, nothing. Distance, nothing. Spherical, nothing. So we're just gonna go to F2 like we were, or F1. We were on F1, but I like F2. Now we want to animate how this moves, right? So let's bring this down to the bottom here. So in the same way that these colors are being mapped from the bottom to the top, right? Red to white, because it's using this Z axis from how it's mapping it, and this is how it maps it. You don't have to know exactly how this works, but just know that this is telling, this texture coordinate and mapping is telling the color ramp how to appear on the object. That's what these two things are doing. It tells the color ramp, how should I appear here? And the way that it should appear, I told it from top to bottom, and that is the Z axis, which you can see here is up and down. And that's all that's happening here, right? So we're gonna do something similar. We want to tell this texture the same thing. How should we map it to this, right? So we're gonna copy these because it's the same thing. So we have them. And we're gonna put it on the vector here, right? Now, this texture coordinate is telling this Verone texture how to appear, and the mapping, all this is doing is it's opening up this. So this generated has a bunch of settings in it. And this mapping, all it's doing, it's allowing us to see what those settings are. And these are the settings: location, rotation, scale. If we just put it directly in, it would be just putting the default value: 0 for location, 0 for rotation, 1 for scale. That's if we went directly in. But this is allowing us to change those settings before it gets to the Verone texture. And that's all this is doing. It's opening up some options. It's opening up our doors. It's opening up location doors, rotation doors, scale doors. Hopefully you guys understand that. So now if you see, if I move the location, you could see that the Veroni texture is changing. And this is how you animate this, right? Boom, changing, right? And we could do it with rotation, which is pretty interesting. On the Z, on the Y looks pretty cool, and X looks pretty cool too. You can also stretch this. All this is doing is stretching it out. You see, like, you see how I'm like stretching it out on the Z. So right now I'm making it less stretched out. But if we bring it up, ooh, now we got like these long, stretchy things, and you know that may work, that may not. But so what I want to do is, right, I want this to animate as the timeline goes on, right? So that's what we'll do. So all we want to animate is the Z, right? But what I want to do is I want to be able to change these individually with something else. I hope this makes sense. So I want to expose these three settings. To expose them and arrest them. No, to expose them, we'll hit combine XYZ, and see this combines X, Y, Z, puts it into this purple vector here, and then transfers it here. Now these are connected, right? And I do this for readability, right? So now it's out. So I essentially brought these settings outside of the mapping. So now it's out here, and now I can affect these individually, right? So let's put an input, because I want to input a value, right? So here's the value, and you know, I connect this, and you're like, okay, cool. Why do I want to do it? Why don't I just change it there? Why don't I just change it here? Why do I need this value out here? And I'm doing it once again for readability. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this be affected by the timeline. To do that, click on the button, hit the hashtag, type in frame. Now this number is going to be whatever the frame number is. So here's a frame number, 149. This value, 149, right? So now if you see, it's now animated. You see how it's like going? I'm going to take off bloom so it renders better. But you see that it's animating, and it's animating a little too fast, right? So to make it go slower, I'm going to divide this by 50. And now it's going real slow, right? You see it. It's moving slow. I want it to go on the other way, so I add a negative, right? I want it to go the opposite way. There we go. Put a negative in the front, so we have negative frame slash 50, right? There it is. Maybe that's a little too slow. Let's bring it to 20. There it is. Let's bring it to 10. There we go. See, and that's looking, it's looking a little smoother. You know what? Maybe it should be going fast. Let's go 5. Okay, great. Cool. So now it's animating upwards. Pretty cool. And we can mess with the scale. So see, we have it real small here. Looks kind of like a, I don't know, like plumbing or something. But if we make it stretched out, you can see that this could be like some sort of beam effect, right? We put the bloom back on. We bring the bloom in. You know, it gives it much more of an animated look. So that's good. Right? So I think that's it for this part. Because now we're going to start combining things, right? So this obviously could look a little better, but I'll fix it later. We just want to get the base down. This is all just a matter of tweaking, right? So we got this going. The fade, it looks like it all fades together at the top here pretty evenly. I want to see if I can make it fade according to the Veroni texture, right? So maybe instead of, because you can kind of tell that it kind of like fades in a line, like it just fades right here, like a quick gradient, right? So I want to see if I can combine this Veroni texture with the transparency to be able to make a better fade. So let's see if this doesn't get too complicated here. I'm just gonna organize these real quick. Everything's working the same. Boom, boom, boom. Just organizing. And I'm gonna just name things just so we can tell what things are. So for this, is there a shortcut for this? I think there's a shortcut, right? Go to Node Wrangler. There has to be like a frame selected. It's Shift P. So let's just do the shortcut. Select all these puppies. Shift P. They're framed. Get my frame here. Make sure that I have the correct thing on here. Texture. We're gonna name it Texture 1. Can a more potent color distort the fade? No, I don't think so. I'll show you now. Let me make sure everything is set here. We'll change this to texture. There we go. We got texture 1 here. No, because the way the fade is working, Kandicha. The way the fade is working, Kandicha, is this. This is the fade. This is what it looks like. You can't really tell right now, but the fade is this. It's just going from dark to light to the top. Let me see if I can give you a better example of this. Just want to show you what it looks like. Yeah. So, okay, so the way this fade is working is like this. This is why it looks like it's just a straight line, because this is the fade that it's using, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine this fade with the texture I just made, so then the fade is more accurate. And that's how we do it. Adding more potent colors is just going to make it more potent colors, but the fade is still the same. Gabby says, Carvalho. Gabby, do you know how I make the hologram texture? Well, for I don't know if you're talking about the hologram texture I made, but if you go into my description, there's my Gumroad. You can download the hologram texture, and you can actually look at the graph there and stuff. Maybe one day I can break down how it works. But the hologram texture is there. You can look through the through the node graph. It is a little daunting though. You know, there's a lot to these node graphs that gets a little complicated. And when you learn this stuff, you just have to know that it's piece by piece. It's like Lego blocks. You don't know how to build the entire castle. You know how to build. You build the floor, foundation, the doors, the people, the roof, the you know, and you have to build things up. So definitely check it out there, Gabby. Anyway, so that's how the fade is working, Kandicha. It's this. And we're going to combine the textures now. I'm going to show you what that looks like right now. All right. So I'm going to do a color. And I'm going to do a mixed RGB. And I'm going to mix this texture with the fade. And we're going to mess around with the different ones, like subtract, add, things like that, right? So there it is. I'm adding the texture to the top there. I'm adding the color ramp to the top color there. And then I'm going to add it to where the fade is connected, right? And that doesn't look like the way that I want it, right? So let's do an add. There it is. See, now this fade is working in like with a mixture of the texture. Oh, thanks. You previously mentioned you can import something from Photoshop. If so, will that be implemented? No. So I'm not gonna implement importing from like a texture from Photoshop. I'm making all these textures procedurally, so they are totally customizable, and they work at any scale, right? So the reason I don't import things from Photoshop is because, like, let's say you import a texture that's like however big, and then you start tiling it or making it bigger or anything like that, you can start seeing the pixelation of it. And it's not scalable. So I usually like to do this procedurally so everything works just within the node graphs. I usually try to make it as readable as possible, so if you don't want to learn the nodes, you could just download the material. But I'm not going to be implementing anything from Photoshop. A lot of people don't have Photoshop, so I'm always afraid of doing something and I don't know, making. I want this to be as usable as possible for most people. Gabby, and you ignore me. No, I just am making a beam texture. So you can download the texture of the hologram in the description. But I will, if you're interested in it, I can definitely make a tutorial on that. The Nash, you've got a great way of breaking down how nodes work. Makes the Blender stuff feel fun and easy. Thanks for all the hard work you do. No problem, Nash. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you for typing it out. Okay, so I'm mixing the textures. Here they are. We did add. Let's just play around. Color burn. Difference. Let's do overlay. Overlay looks like it's the one. You see, now I have the fade actually happening at the end here. This looks kind of like a... Overlay's pretty good. Yeah, Gabby, I'm sorry. The hologram texture is just a very complicated material, and I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to like sit down and really break it down, because that one's a little bit more in depth than this. But the stuff that you're learning, the stuff that I'm doing right here is the same stuff I did in that hologram texture. In that hologram material, it's the same thing. It's the same. I'm using the same nodes. I'm using the same techniques. I'm using the same everything. This is all the basis of these nodes. It's using color ramps, using textures, using the animation thing. So, but since you're interested, I would definitely put it on my list to start breaking down the materials that I make, so people can learn from them. This is interesting, putting linear light. It's kind of ridiculous. Looks really bright. It's like flashing and stuff. Kind of cool, but I wish it wasn't dark in the middle. What if I put clamp? Oh, if you put clamp, that looks kind of interesting. We'll do soft light. Soft light's pretty good. Take off the clamp. Add, multiply. Yeah, I think multiply may be... but I still... See, what I don't like is this harsh line up here. That's what I don't like. So maybe overlay. It's not value, right? All right, let's go back to overlay. I think that was the best one. Take off bloom. Okay. There we go. It still has kind of like a fade there, but at least it's broken up now. And you can see the difference between this, right? And let's just do a fade. The difference between that and this, right? So see? All clear, all one line, but now that we mix them together, now it's broken up. Okay, so we got the texture, and it's mixing with the fade, with the overlay. And once again, once these are set, if we don't like them, we can change them later. So we're just going to keep going. There we go. We can obviously make this brighter for the bloom, right? All right, so now that we have like this material, right? Now we're gonna add in one more cylinder, and this is kind of be the outside of the cylinder, and you'll see what I mean now, right? So here's our first material. Let me make sure it's named correctly. It's called beam. We're gonna call this beam texture dot 000. Great, right? And I'm going to duplicate. I gotta name everything. Beam texture dot 000. Okay, so here's our texture. Here's our cylinder. And what I want to do is I want this to be on the outside, right? So I'm gonna duplicate this beam. So let me duplicate it, make the first one invisible. And we're gonna call this beam main. All right, so we have beam main and beam texture. Beam main, I want it to be a different texture, but I want it to be based off of this, right? So right now it has beam texture. If we click on this little button here, it makes a new material out of this material that we have, right? And you can see how many times the material is being used with this number here on the left. You see how it says 2? Let's see if it says it. Displays number of users of this data. So what this number is saying is if I had like a bunch of, if I had 10 items all using this same material, it would say 10. Right now it's 2 because this is 1 and 2. So these two are being used the same material. The reason that matters is if you change this material, it'll change it for this material. And I don't want it to be. I want it to be its own material. So you click this button that says add new material. You see that it incremented to .001. But I'm also going to rename this to main .001. Just to match the name. I like to match the name with the materials because once you start adding more and more, it gets a little complicated. So for this one in particular, I don't want the texture, right? Let's just do the color and the fade. So we're just taking away the texture. So there's our beam. I'm going to leave this stuff here just for now. And then we're going to bring back our textured one. Okay, you see that it's in there. Now, a trick now I want the textured one to be outside and wide and short, right? I want it to be big, right? So I'm going to go into the texture here. I'm going to hit select. And I'm going to hit, I think it's Alt S. Right? Alt S, I think you can see it. I'm pointing at my screen like you can see. But at the top left here, you can see it says shrink or flatten. You can see how this is getting ridiculous, right? So I'm going to select all, hit Shift S. And I'm going to see I'm making the cylinder much thicker, right? Very cool. So we'll make it thicker. All right, now you see that laser beam's at the bottom there. Maybe that's a way too large, right? So I'm gonna select the top. I'm gonna go to line mode, which is up here, or you can press 2. You can alt click at the top, and you can bring it down. You can either bring it down by hitting G and Z, and that brings it up and down, or you can hit G twice and it'll just slide it down, right? So there we go. We slid it down, and we're gonna make the bottom one, the top one, much bigger. So make sure the top is selected again. Make it wide. Right? Bring it up. All right. So there is a bit of our texture. It's fading out all right. Spitfire. Hey GM, just swinging by to say hey, I can't say unfortunately, but catch the record. Talk soon. Thanks for stopping by, Spitfire. Always a pleasure. Gabby says, what is your way to bake textures? So I don't really bake textures. I don't really use image textures at all. But to bake textures, if I remember correctly, you have to use cycles. And there's a lot of baking tutorials on YouTube. But I don't bake textures, and I haven't baked textures. I don't think I'm a good person to talk about baking textures, Gabby. I'm sorry. All right, so there's our material, and it's looking decent. And now we can go back, right, and we can edit the texture here. So let's go back to our texture. Make sure we're on beam texture. Now we can hit like you know, this is like real slow, right? But let's see if we can make it real wide. There we go. All right, so we got something decent looking. I think it still needs some work here. Like what I'm seeing here, I took the randomness off. Let me see some things that I don't like about this. I don't like that you see this line here. It looks like it comes out and it stays the same. You know, like you can see these lines here. They don't move. And I don't like that. I need it to look better. So to look better, I would like them to rotate. So let's rotate it. So what I'm doing is under the texture, right? That's using the texture coordinates, telling it where to be textured. Here are the settings for the texture coordinates. I'm just using the rotation and rotating here. So you can see the line. You could probably see it even better. There it is. See, that's looking a little cooler. That's looking a little cooler. But I can still see a line there. You see what I'm talking about? Like, it's like, it doesn't move. There it is. Okay, so I'm moving the X and Y. And that's interesting to look at. Right? Let's see which one works best. We can put the randomness back up. Oh, man. Gabby says, you are good at it. Well, thank you. Gabby, are you going to make a Blender animation someday? Yes, one day. Animations for me take a long time. And I'm still trying to build up this educational material for YouTube. So people can learn from this. You know, these are all the techniques I'll probably be using in my animation one day. I do have plans. It's gonna be a while from now though. All right, cool. So we have this texture. This is all set, and now that we have all these settings set, right? This is it. This is the texture, right? Now that we have all these settings set, everything's in place. All the blocks are in place. Everything's in place, right? Now we can just change settings, right? And have fun, right? So we could change the scale. Let's see what the scale looks like different, right? Too big. What if we made it much smaller? Let's move it down to like, let's put it down to 0.1. All right, so 0.1 looks kind of cool because it has like this occasional movement, but it's so slow, right? So let's make it go faster. That's all right. All right, too big. Let's keep going. Let's keep going a bigger size. All right. All right. So what I'm gonna do here, so if you guys remember, this is using the frame number to animate the location of this. That's why this is animating real slow. So I want to make this easier to change. So I'm gonna add in a math. Because all I'm doing here, right? This is the frame, and it's going negative, and I'm dividing it by 50. And I have to go in here and like click on it, and then erase what I want, and then like maybe divide it by 10. Now it goes faster. I don't like it. You know, go in, divide it by 2. It goes faster. And I hate clicking in here and doing that whole thing, right? So I'm just gonna get a math node. I'm gonna make it divide, because that's what I'm doing anyway, right? I'm gonna put the frame. And this should be just called, you know, frame number, just so it's easily readable. There it is, frame number. And I'm going to add the frame number to the top, and I'm going to divide it by 50. Now I have this number easily changeable here. There. Now I can change this number a lot faster. There you go. Is it clamp? Does clamp work? Oh, clamp does not do that. Okay. How about multiply? Multiply, which is make it really go really fast. There it is. Okay. 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 There we go. So now, you know, I have an easy thing that I can change the speed with, which is right there. There you go. All right. So let's mess with this texture a little more. Let's make it maybe bigger. Maybe stretch it out a bit more. That looks kind of cool. Maybe make it smaller. There we go. We can even add a weird texture like that. We can stretch it out from the XY. Overall, I think it's looking pretty decent, right? Okay. Okay. I think we are getting set here. There's a couple things I don't like about this, but it's something that I can definitely change later. Like, let's say we have a more of a fade on this. There it is. Let's go to ease instead. And we're going to put the frame up like, I don't know, 600. And we're also going to make it 30 frames a second, just so you guys can see it a little better here. There it is. A little smoother. All right, cool. So right now, this is looking decent. You know, looking pretty good. We have our beam that's going out. We have this texture moving out. I think the beam needs some texture, and I also think it needs some, like, I don't know, sparkle effects. Also, we could change this texture. I don't know if I like it. Let's just test out something real quick. Let's not go crazy. You know, let's try some different textures here. You know, some of these may work better. We can change it to a magic texture. That looks ridiculous. You know, so let's just go back. I'm sorry. Let's do Musgrave. Nah, let's just go back to Veroni. Bum 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 bum. Control Z. All right, we'll leave this on for now. Definitely think it needs some work, but we're gonna keep going. We're gonna add some more stuff to this. So, if you guys remember, if you look at the texture that I made before, the rain texture, there are splashes and ripples, right? So let's see if I can open this up real quick for everybody watching. Rain. So if we look at this rain material that I made, if you want to download it, this link in the description, it's free. You can see that these splashes have ripples and water coming out of it, right? And it's all done procedurally. There's no textures here. All procedural stuff, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this splash and then add it to the beam that I'm doing right now. So let's see if that helps it out, right? So let's go back. This looks funny, right? Also, maybe we can make the inside here a little smaller too. Just do that. There you go. Okay, so let's add in the ripples and the splashes. Luckily, I already have that here. So let's put it in here. And that's it. Let's take away the beams though. Okay. So here are the beam particles. Very cool. And right now, the way that they look like is like this, right? Let's see if I can show you. They're just 4 planes that have the particles that are coming out from the center here, right? So let's go back here, and they just come out of the center. And I think this works, but we'll have to see. All right, let's see. Let's add in the beam. Maybe shrink it down. Yeah, see, what I don't like about it is that you can see it in the center. I want it to be on the outskirts and stuff. So let's take this material and work with it solo for right now. This is a bit advanced, guys, so I definitely understand. I might just breeze through this until I get to a part that's more educational here. Easier to explain. So I'm going to delete everything, and I'm just going to keep one. And there's my splash. And this is my rain material here. Somewhat simple. There's a lot going on here. But what I'm going to do is, it's coming out the center here. I'm going to see how I can make it come out the middle. And then I'm going to start putting these planes around the beam. And that part will be a little bit more educational, more something that you can transfer to different parts of your blender. So I'm just going to find out very quick here where I can move this. So it's not that one. All I'm looking for is all the mapping. So they're the purple ones, right? So it's these 3. So let's find out this one. So it's not that one. Maybe it's this one. All right, so for now, let's figure out what's that. Okay. And all these are just like masks that I'm using. So it's this one. All right. See, this is where this stuff gets like so obnoxious sometimes. So it's this one. And honestly, we may have to just use it the way as is, because maybe I don't want to. Maybe I don't want to mess with this. I think we're gonna use it as is, just for the stream. Maybe when I do this, you know, maybe. So let's go back. Let's go back all the way back. Let's bring back our planes. And let's do it a different way, guys. Let's do it a different way. This will be educational, guys. So if you guys are watching, this is how to use like an array and stuff. Okay, so let's bring back our beam. Do you know if you can? I saw your text, Jim Animation. You said, do you think you could put procedural texture onto curve objects? And you can. You can. Okay, so I'm gonna erase the splashes, except for one. And I'm gonna see if I can make them go in a circle. Let's see if that works. We'll take away the beam. Here's our splashing. Let's do this. Okay, we're gonna add in a modifier and put an array. And we're going to do a constant offset or object offset. We're gonna add in a empty, because what we're gonna do is we want the arrays to be affected by an empty object. So let's go into this. I'm gonna put it into solid mode just so you see what we're doing here. So here's our solid mode. I'm gonna put a matcat random so you can see this. I'm gonna put an empty here, and you'll see how this array works. Empty. We'll do a cube for you so you can No, we'll do a plain axis. There we go. So there it is. This empty is going to be called splash empty dot 000. Jim, can you put Jim animation says, can you put procedural onto curve objects? Yes, and I'll show you after this this array trick. All right, cool. So we have an array on the splash. You can see it here. And we're gonna make sure that we put object offset, and the object we want, we'll use the little eyedropper tool, splash empty. For some reason this is like going weird, and the reason it's going weird is because the empty object. So let's click on the empty. Go to the rules here. Oh my god, what is happening? Hold on, gonna have to diagnose this. It looks kind of crazy. Oh my god, what is happening? Oh, there we go. So make sure that your empty, everything is zeroed out, right? So here's your empty 111000. If you make it bigger, it'll get bigger, and that's what's happening there, right? So great. So there we go. Let me go back to our splash. It's interesting that it's rotating there. Let's see what this looks like. This is not rotating the way that I want it to. Okay. So let's go to our splash object. And we're going to apply. Right now it's at 90 degrees. Let's make it apply this rotation. So I'm going to hit Shift A and hit the rotation. And that kind of changes the look. Can I? There we go. Rotate to deltas. All right. So we're just doing an array here, guys. And I can't see what's happening. We gotta troubleshoot this, guys. This is when you're by yourself on Blender and things aren't working, and then you're like, I done. Everybody goes through it. Just takes sitting down, probably walking away sometimes, and figuring out what's happening. So let's try some different things on the array here, because I want it to rotate on the z-axis. So let me figure out what is happening here. These are there. Relative offset. Those are offsetting this way. I don't want it to offset that way. I want to offset through rotation. Let's do this object. It's rotating on there. I wonder why it's rotating. The wrong way. It's rotating the wrong way, guys. Rotation looks like it's set. Rotate on the Y90 X. Oh, there we go. Guess I just had to rotate the empty on the X. Because now, if you look at it, if I rotate it on the Z, it rotates perfectly. So I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees on the Z. There we go. And then we can also add in more. It doesn't have to be, say, 10. There we go. See what that looks like. There is something crazy happening here, and I'm not sure what's happening, but we're gonna roll with it. All right, we're not going to use an array, guys. Or an empty. What we're going to do is we're going to bring back our beam particle. We're going to bring back on the x-axis. We'll bring that back the splash, right? So it's we're going to put splash. It's at 008. And I want splashes to be all around the object. So I'm going to bring back the 3D cursor. Here's the 3D cursor. And let me bring out the beam object for you to be able to see what I'm doing here. And what I want to do is I want like a bunch of these planes facing this way, rotating around the center here. So the way to do that is if you hit the period key, and my screencast keys are gone again. If you hit the period key right here and you go to 3D cursor. So right now, if you put active element, if you hit the period key, hit active element and rotate. And rotate, you see that it only rotates on the origin. And that's not what we want here, right? So rotating on the origin is not what we want. We want it to rotate around the center. So I'm going to hit the period key, hit the cursor. I'm going to look at it from the top here. And I'm going to add 10 of these. And what's 10, right? So it's going to go around 360 degrees. So to figure out how many degrees each plane has to go, we divide 360 degrees divided by 10 planes. So it's going to be 36 degrees. It's a number to remember there. All right, I'm going to duplicate it. And then make sure that we're on the 3D cursor, and we're going to rotate it on the X, 36 degrees. Oh. Why is it? There it is. Rotate on the Z. Sorry. 36 degrees. Oh man, all sorts of things are happening here that I'm not understanding, guys. It's like rotating upwards? What is this? Rotate on the Z. There's something happening here. Why does it rotate in a circle? Does it have some sort of constraints? Yo, these are the type of errors that like drive you crazy. Alright, so I'm just going to try and plot through this. Figure out what's happening. I'm rotating it on the Z-axis, but it's rotating with me. That doesn't make any sense. Oh my god, what is X? Rotate on the Y. Huh. What is happening? Oh man. Oh man, oh man, oh man. Okay. I'm trying to get these duplicates to rotate around the center here. And it's acting weird. It's like doing all sorts of like these. What is happening? Okay, we're gonna have to figure something out here. Wow, this is crazy, guys. I'm not understanding this. Global. We're rotating. The grease pencil. Is this somehow constrained somewhere? What if I put the origin at the center? Does that change what it looks like? So there's our splash. We'll set the origin to the 3D cursor. Okay, well at least this works a little better. Okay. So let's just do this then. I moved it. We'll bring the beam back to see where it is. We'll bring up 6 around 360 degrees. So 360 divided by 6. It's 60 degrees each. So I'm going to duplicate it. Rotate. Oh, it is still. Set origin to the cursor. Okay, so I'm gonna hit duplicate and then rotate on the Z axis 60 degrees negative. I think there's a button to repeat your action. What is it? Shift T? Control T. Control R. Okay. So do that. Duplicate. Rotate on the Z90. Or 60, I should say. Oh my god. Okay, there we go. I think we're good now. So rotate Z 60 Z. Okay. Duplicate. Rotate ZZ 60. Rotate 60. Man, there is something up here, man. There has to be. There's something so funky. Set origin. 3D cursor. Here you go. Rotate. Y 60. I think I've been doing this wrong, guys. I've been doing Z and it's probably Y. So let's do Y negative 60. Duplicate. Rotate. Rotate Y. And I think that's what I was doing before. Wrong. Rotate Y 60 negative. Let's see what these look like. Alright, this is looking better. B, rotate Y, negative 60. D, rotate Y, negative 60. Okay, we have our planes. We'll bring back our beam particle. Cool. Now, all our splashes are a little too big, so we're gonna make them bigger, or smaller, I should say. Maybe we should make them as small as the beam that it comes out of. There we go. Look at all our splashes. We'll bring it back up. This color is not the color I want, so let's figure out a better color for it. I should have custom properties here, right? Did I do that? I did that. So we're gonna just color select this thing here and bring the emission strength up. Okay. All right. I think we're gonna ease up on this. Okay, so gym animations, can you put procedural materials onto curved objects? Yes. So let's just answer your question. And the answer is yes. First and foremost, Mr. P animations. So let's do that. So what he's talking about is if you go and you add in a you know, if you add in a curved object, right? Let's go through it together. There may be an issue. So here's a curved object, and we'll add in some thickness to it, right? Under geometry, what will not extrude, bevel depth. You can't really tell what it looks like. Let me make sure you can see it. There you go. We got a curved material there. Let's say we have it tapered, right? So let's make another curved object. We'll move it over here to the side and we'll call this taper, right? And for this object, we'll make sure that the taper object is on the taper there. And then we will taper the object here. So there's taper. Oh, why is my taper not working? Oh yeah, we'll bring this. We'll make sure that this has no depth. There it is. Now we have a curved object. We can make it much thicker. We can also go into our taper and bring it up a bit. You know, if we wanted to stretch it out. Right here. Make sure that you're rotating around medium points. There you go. That kind of looks like an eyebrow. Go grab. You know, we got the taper going on pretty good. We'll rotate it. You know, we'll bring our taper object further along, right? You know, we'll give this some extra dimension, so we'll add 32, so now it's a lot smoother. You can see the objects here. So the procedural, I'll add in a procedural texture. We'll add in the hologram. No, we'll add in one of the material ones. So if you go and if you download this material pack that I have, what is it? The energy materials. Let's add the material here. We'll add in material 6. Right? Here's material 6. All right, you can see that the material is procedurally on here. And it works fine. Some things to think about with this, with the texture on a curve. So if you go to curve, go to texture space, sometimes this affects it. You see how you changing it here affects it. You could put match texture space, and then that fixes the texturing on the curved object. And obviously this looks better with bloom and, you know, the background being dark and stuff. But yeah, you can see there's a texture object. We'll import another material. Maybe we'll try some different ones here, right? They're just gonna work a little differently, Jim. They're just gonna work a little differently. So just make sure to go to texture, auto texture space, do like match texture. Sometimes that works. Sometimes you want to mess with this. I really didn't make these to work. No, I really didn't check curved objects on this, so these might like have some like weird effects or something. But this is pretty much, it pretty much works, you know. Change the colors. Mess with these settings. And you can move them around. They should work. And there you go. But yeah, no problem, Jim. Just make sure to go to this curves, match texture space, mess with this. You know, and if you're brave, if you're real brave, you can go to the node tree and mess with some of these settings. I know it's really daunting. That's why I'm laughing, because even me looking at this, I'm like, oh my god, my eyes just like glaze over. But luckily these options here are all the important ones that I put. So yeah, should be able to work. Good stuff. Ugh, okay, so I don't think I'm liking the splash, so we're gonna try to add some different stuff here. I think I'm gonna add one more thing. Call it a day. Didn't want this stream to be too long. I got some other work to do, but let's add in one more thing. Let's see what else we can add to this to make it look more interesting. I wonder if we take this outside one, we hit Control R, we break it up into, let's say, how much can we break it up to? 50, right? So that's looking pretty good. And then maybe we hit right click, subdivide it, subdivide it again. There's a lot of texture there. Let's put a displacement on it. We'll make a new texture. We'll put clouds. You know, that looks kind of interesting. Maybe it's too strong, right? So let's bring the strength down. Right. Let's add an empty in here. And let's change the coordinates to an object and put the empty. Now when we rotate the empty, it'll rotate the texture here. So let me move this to the right here so we can see it. And I'm gonna add in a rotation on. I'm gonna add in a rotation on the Z. Does Z look the best? Does X look the best? I really can't tell. Let me pause it. Y, X. I kind of like Z. So we'll do a frame divided by 50. You know, now we got this wavy texture going on. Maybe the texture's a little too big, so let's make it, just so you can see what is happening. It's just making this like wavy texture on it. There we go. Zero depth. We'll hit smooth. See what that looks like. Boom. Kind of interesting looking. Jiraj, hello. Good to see you. How's it going? How's school? How's life? So this is looking all right. keep it off for now. And let's... Yeah, this goes crazy bright. What if we hit clamp? Even with clamp, it goes so bright. Good to see you too, mate. Good to see you. Good to be here. All right. All right, so that's looking all right. What if we made this top cylinder smaller? What if we made both rotate? We should probably make this go faster. Maybe not that fast. And the texture should probably be a little bigger here. Hmm. There we go. Maybe still a little too bright. What if we add it to... Ooh, maybe not constant. Maybe beast line. All right. This looks like a, I don't know, some sort of thing coming out. There's a lot of going on here because I was doing the displacement, but let's get rid of the displacement and let's do dissolve vertices. I think I fucked up my computer. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right. I want to erase everything on the inside here, so I'm gonna select the outside rim, and by erase the things on the inside, just all this extra vertices. So I selected both rims. And then I'm gonna go to selection mode and do select loop inner region. So I selected the inner region. Oh, I should have just selected all. Select all. Hold shift and control. Or alt and shift, I'm sorry. Deselect the edges. Now hit X, dissolve vertices. Let's hope that works. That does not work. So select all. Do it in vertice mode. I think that's what the issue is. Now hit X, dissolve vertices. Oh man. Is it not dissolve vertices? Limited dissolve. There it is. There, we got rid of a bunch. Can we do limited dissolve on this too? Nice. Still an extra one. These. Alright, so I guess. Alright, so I'm gonna select these, and I'm also gonna do select checkered or deselect checkered. There it is. Dissolve vertices. Nope. Why is this not working? Select those, select, checker, deselect. Oh man, I wish I would select the right ones. So all these center ones are just wrong. They're just like extra vertices. So I'm just trying to clean this up here. There it is, much cleaner. Limited dissolve again. I wonder why these get selected. Oh my goodness. There we go. All right. There we go. Just saving some space here. Jiraj says, good to see you. Good to see you, Jiraj. I made a pointless camera rig, but at least I learned about drivers a bit. I don't know. All seems kind of pointless right now. Oh, yeah. Probably pointless because... probably pointless because you need some application for it. You know, learning drivers and stuff for camera rigs. I mean, that is useful, you know, it can be useful for your purposes, but for drivers, for me, is just always related to animating something or controlling something with something else or something like that. For the most part, I think drivers just, once you start repeating something over and over and over again, that's when you start applying that driver knowledge. You know, everybody has a different use case and stuff. Did you just want to learn about camera rigs, Jiraj? Is that what you were doing? Just learning camera rigs? Okay. So I got this thing going. Rotate X90. See if we can get some color back in this. Wait, what if we use a different color? Bring the color out with some hue saturation here. There you go. There you go. Jiraj, I mean, experience in general seems kind of pointless right now, but that's because heavy stuff happened today, so heavy, I don't think I should bring it up here. Well, understandable. I'm sure. Yeah, it's hard to say the right things, but I hope everything's going all right, and you should definitely take some time to take care of your mental health. Don't necessarily come on here. Thank you for stopping by, though. Therefore, yeah, the rig is a bit pointless, but drivers are cool. Definitely would check them out more in the future. Yeah, especially if we're getting more into 3D, Jiraj. If we get more into 3D, drivers are pretty useful and stuff. Definitely. Okay. Let's see. How can I finish this up? I think this is a good stopping point, though, but so I figure out a better solution. All right, guys, I think I'm gonna be ending the stream. So before I end it, does anybody have any questions? Anybody have anything that they'd like for me to check out or go over? Obviously, not something not too in depth, but please ask your questions before I head out. anybody out there, any questions, definitely go download the materials I made. They're a lot of fun to use. They're free. No harm, no foul. I'm eventually gonna make a very good laser in depth. This was just me kind of playing with how to start building it out. I think there's still lots and lots and lots of work to do with this one. Especially making it customizable and stuff, I think is very important. But yeah. Susan, thanks for the great hangout. Learn lots. Maybe on drivers, since that's what I have my mind right now in Blender mind. Well, do you have any questions, Jiraj, about drivers? Susan, yes, I did. I have a place lined up already over there in Massachusetts, Boston. Ferd, thank you. All the effects happening, blasting through. GM zapped me with a death ray. Oh, I love the liveliness. My beam ray, my multicolored. We'll see. I want to make something. We'll see. Drivers and useful add-ons are what I'm researching right now. Yeah, but when you research Garage, do you have any application or are you just learning about it? Like, do you the things that I always use you already know them. I think, Garage, like the frame, using drivers to control things. I just got in at the ends. I'm the sads. Oh, it's not your fault, Ferd. It's a short one today for me. Got lots to do. I'm in the process of moving, so I'm trying to split my time between moving, working my day job, going all over the place, doing some dabs. Oh yeah, Fred, I'm moving over to Boston, Massachusetts. Gonna be moving from here, California, good old sunny California, to Boston, Massachusetts. So yeah, doing that move, it's gonna happen next month. So I'm in the process of like packing, working my day job, working my secondary gig, working my third gig, working my fourth gig, working my fifth, my sixth, my seventh, my eighth gig, trying to do these materials for YouTube, trying to post YouTube videos. My life is super hectic. So that's what's happening. Holy moly. Yes. Hitting up the East Coast. New beginnings are great. Yes, they are. And I've been needing a new beginning, especially after this whole situation in 2020. I've been needing to move out. Puts you in closer in drinking range. I love it. I wonder how our time zones would change. I'm gonna be 3 hours. It's gonna be a 3-hour difference for me. So for me, it's gonna be 6, 7, 8. So, oh man. So I'll probably be streaming 3 hours earlier. Oh man, I may have to change my whole streaming. I didn't even think about this. I may have to change my whole streaming time. Maybe I'll start streaming a little later in the night instead, just to maintain the timeage with you guys, and it won't affect me too much. But Oh man. Definitely. All right. Oh man, let me open up before I go. I'll open it up. Are you planning to visit BlenderCon at any time at all? Yeah, once I get settled, I'll love to visit, go to a BlenderCon. Oh, so yeah, so that's what I was thinking for Susan. So since it would be 3 hours earlier, I'm not gonna do that because then it would be Susan being getting up at like, what is that? 7, 6, 5. It'll be like getting up at 5. No, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna we're gonna yeah, think of Susan. No, exactly. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep the same time, Susan. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. 3, 2, 3, 3. What time is it? 2:30, 3:30, 4:30. Yeah, I think it'll be fine. I'll probably end up streaming later, if anything. So you'll get up early. You'll still get the streams. Everybody, I'll be in the same stream or I guess time zone as Ferd. I have a head start on you, Jiraj. Oh man, before I go, maybe I can do a real quick view here of this lightning material I made. Or not I made. Somebody on the Twitter. It's on the Discord. I feel like this like lightning material. It's like pretty cool. But man, was it kind of like a pain to figure out. See if I can remember how to. Oh no, we can't get into this. This is too much. This is too much. Oh man, but I definitely should do a tutorial on this. Would be cool. Anyway, we're gonna end the stream. Let me go into. All right, guys. Thank you, guys. Susan, time's gonna be fine. You don't have to get up any earlier. But that's gonna happen in a month. Bird, thank you for stopping by. Jiraj, I would definitely want to visit a BlenderCon at some point in time. Maybe we can meet up there one time. I don't know if I'll be able to make this year's, if it's already happened or gonna happen. I'll probably end up doing next year's, if that's the case. So that's about it. Yeah, this cube effect is pretty cool. It's kind of complicated. I have to like sit down and relearn it myself so I'm able to explain it correctly, but there's a lot going on here. Let's see if I can. There's like a volume. We have like a volume, and then we're converting this volume into volume to mesh. So we're using this volume, changing it into a mesh, and then only lighting it on the top edges. And that's how it's kind of made. It's kind of cool. Kind of a pain to explain, but I'm gonna figure out how to explain it so I can teach you guys. Thanks for all, as always, Grease Monkey. Have a good night, good morning, good afternoon. Take care. We'll do this again next Saturday, and next Saturday I'll have more of a plan. Maybe I'll cover this lightning thing here, so it can be useful. Very fun stuff. Have a good night, guys. Take care. I'm still here. Take care. I'll see you later. Goodbye. Definitely will have a breakdown. Gabby, thank you for being here. Take care, guys.